To get rid of her, he accused her of trying to poison him, then cut her nose and ears off before sending her back to Theodoric.
What the hell? Okay, going back to suggestions that was people wanting me to do. Battle of the how do you pronounce this? Catalaunian. Yeah, boom, there you go. I did it.
Since the latter half of the 4th century AD, the Roman Empire struggled to maintain cohesion. The period was marked by widespread social unrest, civil war, and the great migration of peoples from the far side of the Rhine and Danube rivers. Pushed west by nomads from the Asian steppe, countless Germanic war bands and tribes, each numbering 10 to 20,000 people, flooded across the border. Some sought refuge, others plunder. In the west, little could be done to stop the encroachment on Roman territory. The government was sapped by over a century of economic fragmentation that erased major political, cultural, and economic forces which held the empire together. This gradual process
what is that
of
big
poor
black
economic policies
thing?
In turn weakened.
No pun intended. No, what is that? Is that the Huns or?
The military, reducing the imperial army to a pale shadow of its former self. In addition, the crisis led to harsh taxation of the poor, tying the populace to the lands of the wealthy. Such was the burden on the people that many found it better to rebel and become outlaws or sell themselves into enslavement.
Selling your...
When the pressure along the border became too great, Rome lacked the resources to defeat its old enemies, leading to a complete collapse of the frontier system.
There is so much going on. I like what History March did right here. This is like 4 years ago, so it's like, man, he probably improved. But I like what he did there, was showing like the migration of the people. But what he should have done is he should have shown us like what groups, like put the names on the groups at least, to make things more clearer. Just saying.
The province of Britain was lost. Most of Gaul was overrun, while new kingdoms in Hispania and northern Africa defied the empire. After decades of steady disintegration, Rome was on its last legs.
Well,
on
the West anyways.
Germanic tribes came the nomads from the east, threatening the empire.
Oh yeah, these are the Huns.
Fire and sword.
Yeah, this has to be.
They were the Huns.
Yep.
This video is brought to you by our friends over at Curiosity Stream.
I tried Curiosity Stream. Honestly, was it? No, it was Nebula. I tried Nebula, and that was meh.
It is the year for...
I wanted to try Curiosity Stream, but I was like, nah.
423 AD. The Hunnic domain stretches from the River Rhine to the Pontic steppe. Over the years, these nomadic warriors left a trail of untold destruction that reduced countless cities and regions to ruins. Their ability to appear out of nowhere made them seemingly impossible to defeat or defend against. At this time, the Huns were ruled by Oktar in the west and Ruga in the east. It was during their reign that the Hunnic realm reached its territorial zenith.
Dude, that is
after Oktar's
so
death
big.
in 430, it is thought that Ruga proved
so
himself
big,
a capable ruler, managing to significantly centralize the tribes, turning the Huns into a war machine that became the terror of Europe.
Dude, I would love to know how this freaking empire was like. This is so big to just ignore.
The Eastern Empire was hit particularly hard by Hunnic raids. Emperor Theodosius II found it more pragmatic to pay annual tribute of 350 pounds of gold in exchange for peace, as he often had to contend with Sassanid Persia as well.
Of course. The
situation in the west, however, was equally troubling. The chaotic 30-year rule of Theodosius's uncle, Emperor Honorius, largely responsible for failing to prevent the erosion of the Western Empire, came to an end with his death in mid-August. Having left no heir, influential elites chose a high-ranking officer, Ioannis, as his successor. However, not being a member of the Theodosian dynasty, he was not recognized by the court in Constantinople.
Damn.
Emperor Theodosius made preparations for a military expedition to put his cousin, young Valentinian III, on the Western throne.
Wait. The Western Roman Empire and the Eastern Roman Empire fought each other? Oh my goodness, dude. Talk about... like, you're already in a crisis and you're fighting each other. Oh my gosh, dude. Talk about bad to worse.
His support for the boy, however, came at a price, and Illyricum was ceded to the Eastern Empire.
What? But like, they're a part of the same empire, right? Right? They're not like different realms. They're still part of the same realm. So what is this dynamic of... oh my... I need some explanations in the comments right now.
Knowing that war was coming, Ioannis tasked a certain Aetius with seeking military help from the Huns.
And he's using the Huns
was born into a prominent family and was groomed for imperial service from a young age.
I can't. Every time I hear that word groom, I'm like, bro. That word does not sound right to me.
He spent part of his young adult life as a hostage of the Huns, a position of great significance that served to build political and diplomatic relations between the barbarians and the empire. During his time there, Aetius developed close friendships with the Hunnic ruling elite. He played a key role in establishing diplomatic ties that enabled the Western Empire to recruit the invaluable Hun mercenaries, whilst the Hunnic kings filled their coffers with tribute. Most importantly for Aetius, his personal contacts became a valuable political asset. Influential Romans not only sought his advice on how to deal with the barbarians, but relied on him to provide barbarian troops when they needed to further their political careers. Likewise, Ioannis needed an army to hold on to the throne, and he enlisted the ambitious Aetius, who used his personal connections with the Hunnic court to bring back an army of horsemen. But he could not make it in time.
What shocked me is the fact that the Hunnic Empire freaking took over like half of freaking Germania or Germania, whichever way you want to pronounce it. I think Germania is a much better way to pronounce that. But freaking hell, I actually had a comment before where when I was talking about migrations of people. This is from one of my Russian viewers, because I talked about why the Germans were migrating so much, and he pointed out, I said that, and this is partially true, but I didn't realize this, but before I thought the reason why, the main reason why the Germans were migrating was because of the Slavs, the Slavic tribes, was kind of pushing them out, which is partially true, but one of my viewers pointed out to me how it wasn't really them. It was actually the Huns. The Huns were the real ones that actually like caused that. And the more I thought about it, the more I was like, oh yeah, the Huns. Oh yeah, that made a lot of sense. And they also told me that due to the Huns kind of left like a huge gap in this vicinity right here. Basically, we're like modern Poland, Ukraine, Belarus, eastern to central, eastern, Europe. Left a big gap there that the Slavs kind of just populated that afterwards, if I remember that comment correctly. Which is Very, very, very intriguing. I kind of shocked me that I completely, like, I genuinely did not know much about the Huns until relatively recently, and the impact that they had on Europe, really and truly. But let's continue though.
After a hard-fought campaign and a fair dose of betrayal, the Eastern Roman army deposed Ioannis and installed Valentinian III on the throne in May 425. Aetius was now in an unusual position. By marching against the legitimate emperor of the Theodosian dynasty, he had committed treason, yet the wily general used the Hunnic army at his back as political leverage. The young emperor's formidable mother, Galla Placidia, who was the real power behind the throne during Valentinian's minority, quickly understood that Aetius could unseat her son and thought it wise to not only forego all charges of treason, but handed him command over Gaul and paid for his Hunnic troops. Meanwhile, from the plains across the Danube, Ruga launched a campaign against the Eastern Empire on the pretext of going to war with the tribes considered to be under his authority who have fled into Roman territory. However, a few months into the campaign he died. Some say of the plague,
what the
others
hell?
claim that he was struck by lightning.
What?
Whatever the case,
Dude, imagine if he actually got struck by lightning. No way. Dude, if he actually got struck by lightning, bro, do you know how hard it is to get struck by lightning? Oh, bro, the odds of that. That huge, dude, probably the biggest butterfly effect in all of history. If he actually got struck by lightning, what the heck?
A capable leader would have been difficult to replace, and Theodosius hoped that the barbarians would fade away now that they were without Ruga to lead them. Indeed, in the years after his death, the reach of the decentralized Hunnic domain slowly shrunk.
Damn.
As tribes to the east and northeast gradually slipped from their control. By the time his nephews Bleda and Attila inherited the throne, the core of the Hunnic realm was centered around Pannonia, with their sphere of influence primarily extending over the Germanic, Sarmatian and Slavic tribes in the more immediate vicinity. But they never...
Wait. This is a weird realm. This is such a weird... the most interesting realm that I've ever seen throughout history. Usually, pre-modern times anyways, these types of realms where it's like more than one ethnic group like this, it's typically, I mean, you got the Roman Empire there, which, you know, conquered like a whole bunch of other, you know, sub-ethnic groups. You know, it survived for a while, but that's kind of like, when you really think about it, I don't really think much. I mean, yes, there's a lot of good examples of, you know, empires, like, you know, well-known empires that obviously encompass other groups, but for the most part, I don't really think that ever was like, overall, that was kind of like normal, you know, like natural. Like, usually a big empire or slash kingdom usually rule over by like majority of the population is kind of the same people with same culture and whatnot, and it's just interesting. So they're ruling over Germans right here, and they're ruling over Slavs here, and they're ruling over Hunnic people, probably Turkey people in here as well, and Dacian people here, and like Romans from like, because, you know, Romania's right here, you know, Latin people. Bro, how do you even keep a realm like this functioning? That's
nevertheless continued to have a major impact on Roman politics. The two brothers proved equally capable to adapt to the ever-changing, hectic world of the late Roman period. To conclude Ruger's campaign, in 435 they forced Theodosius to sign an unfavourable peace. The annual tribute paid to the Huns was doubled to £700 of gold. Trade routing concessions were made, Hunnic traders were allowed into markets in Roman cities, and Theodosius had to surrender prominent Hunnic fugitives, including two of royal descent, who were subsequently crucified by Attila as punishment for converting to Christianity.
What? Damn, bro. Bro gave him that Jesus treatment. Bro said, "Oh, you wanna worship Jesus? All right, I'm gonna give you the same treatment like him."
Born into the most powerful family,
Jesus
and
treatment.
Attila's growing up was far from the rough life usually associated with nomadic tribes. Instead, they enjoyed a life no different than the Roman ruling class. They received excellent education in military and diplomatic tactics, could read, write, and speak in Gothic and Latin, and were well versed in court.
I wish Gothic still existed today. I wish Gothic still existed today. It's so sad that the freaking East Germanic family is freaking extinct, dude. Extinct because of the Huns and the Slavs. We don't have it anymore, unfortunately. Like, anything Gothic is just gone. Like, I would really love to know what East Germanic was like. Unfortunately, it's gone.
And, like all Huns of royal blood, they received expert training in archery, sword fighting, lasso use, horse riding, and grooming.
Bro!
It seems
not
that
grooming,
ruled
bro.
the supreme king in the prized eastern wing, while Attila controlled the western reaches, where he expanded the core of Hunnic territorial control towards the Rhine.
Damn. So you're telling me at one point the Huns basically control almost all of freaking Germania? Or Germania? Whichever way you pronounce it. I did not know that.
From early in his rule, Attila continued to maintain the lucrative alliance with Aetius and, together with his brother, would continue to provide military support to the Roman general for years to come. To repay his Hunnic friends for their assistance against the two Theodosian emperors, Aetius ceded parts of Pannonia and bestowed Attila with the honorary title of Magister Militum, which entitled the Hunnic king to a hefty salary and a regular supply of grain for his troops. The Roman general then promptly moved to build up his power. He killed off political opponents and used the support of the Huns to defeat his Roman rivals in a series of civil wars, further destabilizing the West. The Vandal king Gaiseric exploited the internal power struggle in Rome to cross from Hispania, overrun Roman Mauritania, and establish a firm foothold in the province of Africa, eventually capturing Carthage in 439.
So that's how the Vandals got there.
Managed to negotiate a treaty, recognizing Gaiseric as the ruler of the territory he had conquered in exchange for grain supply and annual tribute to Rome. But he had no intention of actually recovering Africa. Similarly to the north in Britain, still considered part of the empire in the general sense, when the Britons were attacked by the Picts and other barbarians, their pleas for help went unanswered. Instead, Aetius made
the cricket sound effect. Bro, did you hear the cricket sound effect?
the preservation of Roman Gaul the keystone of his policy. He drove back the Visigoths to their holdings.
Also, the Picts aren't even barbarians in the sense of, like, they're actually, like, the Picts are actual Britons native to Britannia. They're not really barbarians. Like, freaking, I know Rome would call any and everything a barbarian, but like, you invaded their homeland and you want to call them a barbarian? Like, that just doesn't sound right to me. The Picts, I'm pretty sure the Picts are like Highland Scotland people. There were the Picts and another group of people. I'm pretty sure they were like, I forgot what the other group of people were called, but yeah, they're all Britons, like actual Briton. Freaking hell.
In Aquitania, successfully stopping their expansion in a series of military engagements over the years. In the north, he defeated the Franks and the Alans, and enlisted them as foederati of the empire, using their cavalry to bolster his forces. Rebels in Rhaetia and Noricum were ruthlessly suppressed, and Roman rule was re-established on the Danube north of the Alps. Subsequently, he crushed a Burgundian army near the Middle Rhine and accepted peace. But just 1 year later, he broke the treaty and invited Attila's Huns to cross the border to finish off the Burgundians. Tens of thousands were killed, while Aetius forcibly resettled the survivors south a few years later, effectively breaking the power of the Burgundian kingdom.
Oh, so that's how the Burgundians ended up in that spot. I always wondered, like, who? I knew that they were Germanic, but I'm like, why did they end up in this spot? Like, I learned a lot of things here.
The insurrection of the Bagudai rebels was suppressed in Armorica, a place where brigands, migrants who escaped the chaos in Britain, impoverished peasants, deserters, and runaway slaves all banded together in open resistance to the Roman proto-feudal exploitation. The ever-unstable region continued to be a problem, causing a constant manpower drain. To free up his troops, Aetius resettled the Alans along the Loire Valley, tasking them with containing the Bagudai in the north and pressing the Visigoths in the south. By now, Aetius emerged as the most powerful man in the west. He treated Gaul as his personal fiefdom, defending it from internal and external threats at the expense of all other regions of the Western Empire. Realizing that...
I mean, yeah, what other choice did he have? Dude, I mean, Rome expanding into Britannia was always kind of a stretch to me, because it's like, you know, that's kind of overstretching the empire. And Rome isn't really the same like it used to be, bro. So, I mean, he's doing the most logical thing.
Rome's resources were committed in Gaul. The Vandals went on the offensive. First, Gaiseric married his son Huneric to the daughter of the Visigothic king. Not only could such an alliance overpower the Western Empire, but the grain supply and trade revenue from Africa were cut off. Aetius would no longer be able to pay his troops, which would leave the empire defenseless. Then, in 440, Gaiseric invaded Sicily. The captured Roman ports and vessels in...
Bro, I never knew the freaking Vandals tried to invade Italy. What the heck? Wow.
Africa now served to transport Vandal troops to Italy. News of barbarians pouring across the Mediterranean alarmed the Roman world. A year later, Theodosius dispatched a massive armada to bring the Vandals to heel. However, to mount the expedition, the emperor pulled significant forces from the imperial borders, and this hadn't gone unnoticed by Rome's neighbours. In the east, Sassanid armies invaded. Nearly 2 years of small-scale fighting ended inconclusively, but contributed to the draining of Rome's resources before Theodosius agreed to pay tribute. Back on the Danube frontier, the Huns in...
That guy is a... Bro, History March. This is probably the funniest video that I've ever reacted from History
Invaded in
March.
441. This time,
That's amazing,
walled
man.
cities posed no obstacle. Battering rams, scaling ladders, and mobile towers were used to mount assaults. The ability to take fortified cities set the Huns apart from other tribal armies, as major city centers in the Balkans were reduced to ruins one by one.
Holy hell. So, bro, like the Mongol Empire, at first, you know, they couldn't even take walled city. But the Huns could have... What? Oh, that's mad, bro.
By 442, having gathered more plunder than they could carry, Attila and Bleda headed back across the Danube after sending their demands to Theodosius. However, the emperor rejected the peace offer. He recalled the troops from Sicily and ordered large amounts of new coins to be minted to finance the war against the Huns. In 443, the Huns responded with another campaign. Major fortified urban centers were heavily damaged, with entire populations slaughtered or enslaved. Attila and Bleda reached as far south as Thermopylae in Greece and destroyed a Roman army outside Constantinople. The eastern capital was safe behind its walls, but another Roman army was defeated near Kallipolis.
Wow.
Unable to deal with the onslaught, the humiliated Theodosius sued for peace, agreeing to hand over 6,000 pounds of gold as punishment for missed payments during the invasion.
No way. He did all of that. He did, bro.
And the annual tribute was tripled to 2,100 pounds in gold, with the ransom for every captured Roman soldier set at 12 solidi. As
He
the
did
Huns
all,
retreated
bro.
back to their territory in 445, Bleda reportedly died, possibly a victim of assassination. Attila was now the sole ruler of the Huns.
It was a hunting accident.
Meanwhile,
Okay.
in the west, the Visigothic Vandal alliance bore fruit. They tied down Roman forces in Gaul and took Sicily in the south. It was only a matter of time before they would overrun the empire. Political infighting certainly didn't help Rome's cause. Valentinian had grown, but he was emperor in name only, with his power limited even within Italy itself. But what little influence he had, he used to prevent any help from going to Aetius in his fight against the barbarians, clearly resentful of the general's unlimited power. True.
You know what?
Aetius
I can't even blame him. And I kind of low-key subconsciously expected him to hate that guy. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not even surprised.
freely pulled the imperial strings. To consolidate his own position in Gaul, he
Can't even blame him.
to Gaiseric and proposed a marriage between Valentinian's daughter and Gaiseric's son. It was a brilliant move. He was well aware that Gaiseric's son was already married to Theodoric's daughter, and if his offer was accepted, it would drive a wedge between the Vandals and the Visigoths and potentially break up their alliance. The ploy worked. Aetius's offer was too tempting for Gaiseric. He would now have time to rebuild his forces that became overextended and to consolidate his grip over his territorial gains. More importantly, the opportunity to marry his son Honoric into the Roman royal line was too good to pass up. The Vandal king cared little that Honoric was already married to Theodoric's daughter. To get rid of her, he accused her of trying to poison him, then cut her nose and ears off before sending her back to Theodoric.
What the hell? Oh, that is unnecessarily barbaric, bro. Man, really putting the name barbarian into full show.
The Visigothic Vandal alliance was broken. To the west, in Hispania...
Nah, because imagine, like, you're a father and, like, you just see your daughter pull up with her nose and ears gone. Bro. Yo, I ain't gonna lie. That, I would not wish that upon my worst enemy. That is one of those things where it's like, yo, like, I don't even know. Honestly, I'm just speechless from that. Like, what made him think, yes, this is it? Like, what went through his head to make him think that?
Aetius was slowly losing grip on the situation. Nevertheless, he schemed by keeping the Visigoths busy with promises of land south of the Pyrenees if they aided Rome in putting down a revolt of the Bagaudae in Tarraconensis and in reducing the power of the Suebi, who had by now greatly expanded their territory on the peninsula.
Bro, who are those people?
Was defeated, but it succeeded in diverting significant Visigothic forces away from Aetius's domains in Gaul. By 447, his two-pronged diplomatic mission to neutralize both the Vandals and the Visigoths succeeded completely. It was a true political masterstroke. Aetius's scheming continued in Italy when he betrothed his son to Valentinian's younger daughter. Not only did this further strengthen his position in the empire, but marrying into the Theodosian line would greatly increase the legitimacy of his house. However, in the east, storm clouds were...
The Huns! You can't forget about them, of course.
Crossed the Danube yet again.
But they're focusing on like the Eastern Roman Empire, though.
Outbreaks of plague and a succession of earthquakes spread devastation throughout the east.
Speaking of earthquake, there was a big earthquake in the Caribbean like a couple days ago. Unrelated, but I mean, it's kind of somewhat related, but it's freaking 7.5 magnitude earthquake. Freaking
Eastern Empire.
But
Theodosius was forced to stop
just pointing that out.
Annual tribute. And now Attila came to collect what he was owed. This time he set his sights on Constantinople, whose walls had been severely damaged during the strong earthquakes earlier in the year. An army marched out to meet the invaders, while the populace scrambled to repair the defenses. However, the Romans suffered a crushing defeat at the river Utus, but not without inflicting heavy casualties on the invaders. Left unopposed, the Huns laid waste to Thrace, with some cities suffering such destruction that they remained desolate until the reign of Justinian, some 70 years later. But the walls of Constantinople
the Hunter menace is confirmed.
Were repaired just in time. Once again, the city's formidable defenses left Attila no choice but to turn back. However, Theodosius was again forced to buy peace with the Huns and agreed to abandon much of the lower Danube frontier as a buffer wasteland. Forcing the abandonment of lands that were controlled by the empire for centuries was Attila's way of reminding everyone of his power and ability to get concessions from the Romans. But things soon changed with the death of Theodosius and the accession of the new Eastern Emperor, Marcian, in 450. He immediately adopted a stronger policy towards the Huns and put a stop to the route.
So true, bro. He was such a golden goose, bro.
Made by his indecisive predecessor. The new emperor's comprehensive military preparations made it clear that the East would be a more determined opponent under his rule. Attila was angered, but did not renew the war. Instead, the Hunnic king turned west. He forbade the Hun mercenaries from serving Rome and began preparing for a confrontation with his childhood friend and ally. Good relations between Attila and Aetius were coming to an end, and the Roman general would no longer be able to use the Huns as his iron fist in Gaul. A few reasons are suggested for Attila's sudden shift in strategy, but it is not entirely clear why he abandoned long-standing diplomatic ties with the West. Whatever his reasons, a direct invasion of Rome risked alienating the barbarian allies that formed the bulk of his army. He needed a pretext for war, and he found two. One was the recent death of the Frankish king Claudio that left his sons fighting over the throne, splitting the kingdom in two, with one son seeking assistance from Aetius and the other from Attila. But the Frankish internal dispute was not reason enough for all-out war. The other was Justa Greta Honoria, Valentinian's ambitious sister. She schemed to assassinate the emperor and seize power, but the plot was uncovered, and she was forcibly married to a senator loyal to the emperor who could keep an eye on her. Faced with an unwanted marriage...
What type of... How does that work? Why didn't they just execute her? What? Marry her to someone to keep an... What? How does that... Huh? I'm so confused. How does that work? Like, can't she, like, still freaking, I don't know, kill him? Like, what?
She went as far as sending a letter and a ring to Attila, begging him to set her free.
Yo!
It may not have been a marriage proposal, but Attila chose to interpret it as such. He accepted and asked her for half of the Western Empire as dowry. Valentinian disputed the marriage proposal and refused Attila's demands. This was the pretext that the Hunnic king needed. The war had begun. Credit goes to our awesome patrons who make videos.
Bro! How to react to this in two parts. One, because I have things to do. Two, because it's just overall better. Oh well, my choice. Live with it. Anyways, yeah, I'm eventually gonna react to part two of this. This is quite good. I learned a lot of things from this video. Like, before, I knew like why the Western Roman Empire collapsed, but I never really like realized in like full detail why the Western Roman Empire collapsed, if that makes sense, right? And this has opened my head a lot. So if you made it all the way here, subscribe. If you have any suggestions for me, go comment it down below. If you know that there's something that I would love to react to, definitely comment down below. All right, go check out my other reactions on my channel. Thank you for watching, and goodbye. Make sure to like the video as well.